To start with, I'd just like to acknowledge the Darkinjung people, who are the traditional owners of this land in which we meet. I'd like to pay my respects to elders, past, present and emerging. I would also like to extend my respect to any Aboriginal people who are present here today. I'd also like to take the opportunity to recognise those with a lived experience of mental illness and acknowledge that we can only provide quality care and education through valuing, respecting and drawing upon the lived experience and expert knowledge of consumers, their families, carers, friends and our community. Okay. In this session, we're going to be discussing the importance of connection. I'll be also introducing you to My Virtual Care, which is the New South Wales telehealth platform that we've started using recently. I'm going to be discussing my own experience in using telehealth and present to you one of the clients that I've been working with and their experience of using telehealth. We'll also be going through the benefits of telehealth and as well as the ways that it can improve consumer and service provider connection within the health setting. There'll also be some time for questions at the end, and I'm going to do a live demo for anyone who's interested as well. So, connection. As humans, we are inherently social creatures. We are biologically, cognitively, physically, and spiritually wired to belong, to connect. Much like the relationship we have with ourselves, our relationship with others is conducive to happiness and fulfillment. These relationships aid in providing meaning and purpose in the everyday. In an increasingly isolated and often digital engaged world, we all need real connection more than ever. And the profound impact of both human and social connectivity shouldn't be overlooked. So, connection, what is it? According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, it describes connection as the act of connecting, the state of being connected. But really, what does that mean? According to writer Jessica Assif, she says, "We have genetically evolved to experience the tangible benefits of human connection, in which include an increased feeling of belonging, purpose, happiness, self-worth, and confidence. And studies across all mammals show that our well-being depends on our connections with others." So what does this have to do with telehealth? In the health sector, we know that connection, social isolation, and loneliness have a significant impact on both physical and mental health. Studies have shown that prolonged social isolation can increase the risk of premature death, developing depression, cardiovascular disease, and cognitive decline. It's also been linked with the potential for engaging in unhealthy behaviours such as smoking and lack of physical activity. In comes 2020 and COVID. Because of these impacts, when the pandemic started, a lot of health experts started to express their concerns around the non-COVID related illnesses that were going to impact our society, and in particular, impacting people's mental health. So throughout the pandemic so far, services such as Beyond Blue and Lifeline have seen a significant increase in the amount of individuals accessing their services due to concerns around mental well-being. Social isolation has been a significant contributing factor to this. The nature of the pandemic has significantly changed the landscape of future service provision, service access, and the way that people are able to connect. It's been great that we've had some really good funding come into lots of services around providing telehealth and alternate options for accessing to services. And it's meant that us as service providers have really had to learn to adapt quite quickly to meet the needs of our clients. However, how has these changes actually impacted our clients? Some examples to challenging connections that some individuals are facing, which even though in some cases COVID restrictions have actually made things kind of go back to a semi-normal pre-2020 life, still some people are impacted by these. For some people, they're still not being able to see their family or friends due to ongoing health concerns. Some people can't travel or see family and friends due to border closures. Some people are too concerned to get on a flight because what happens if there's a lockdown? They can't afford to go into 14 days quarantine. Some people are not connected to their regular circles because they're needing to work from home. Change in work and office environments, including staff working from different locations, have meant that there's been a loss of staff work community and co-worker support, decreased work morale, the need to homeschool or participate in distance education for children. I mean, try and ask a parent who's had to have 3 kids homeschooling, try and make an appointment. It's a pretty difficult ask. University courses have been delivered online or having minimal face-to-face learning. There's been cancellation of regular social activities and community events, sporting commitments, community groups, senior groups, changes to social and community support services. During the height of the pandemic, a lot of social services were actually unable to provide their regular supports, which meant that a lot of people who that was their regular engagement opportunity would no longer be able to engage with that. Social isolation can have a flow-on effect of challenges for our community, including employment difficulties, job loss, financial challenges, as well as an increase in family and domestic violence, substance use, and mental health concerns. From this, it's fair to say that improving connection with community, our patients and clients and fellow colleagues is something that we should consider a priority in provision of care. So, now before I dive straight into it, I just want to ask everyone to raise their hand if they have used telehealth or any form of it previously in their work. Okay, raise your hand if you have just used a phone consultation with no video. Raise your hand if you have used a video consultation. Raise your hand if you've ever used telehealth to hand over a patient to another service. I've had one person, okay. Raise your hand if you have used telehealth to consult with a colleague or other professional. What about using it with your client to discuss with another colleague or patient? Okay. All right, so I'm going to play for you now just a quick little intro video into My Virtual Care, which is the New South Wales telehealth platform. And our amazing tech guys are going to get that to work. If not, we can just go on. Oh, here we go. So My Virtual Care. My Virtual Care is designed to complement existing services by connecting patients with clinical expertise. It also enhances access to health services, particularly specialist services, and can also provide patients with more choice about how and where they receive their care. We're giving them choice. This is also underpinned by safety and quality. Telehealth can make it easier and more convenient for people to attend their appointments. This may mean that for patients, it reduces travel, parking, and accommodation costs, because we all know that if you have to go up to Gosford Hospital and you park in the multi-storey car park, it's $20 a day. Do that a few times a week and that's pretty expensive. For some people, it means providing them with less disruption to their life. With family, work and routine, with kids, it's more convenient. If you're unable to physically attend an appointment, it means that they can have it online or on the road. You can easily bring different people together to be involved in your care. For some people, that includes having handovers to different services, having their carer or family members that aren't normally living with them involved, which for some people is an incredibly important part of their wellness journey. For treating teams, telehealth can provide them with the opportunity to discuss and identify best approaches based on the patient needs, or while not having to be in the same physical location. And also for some people, it provides them with the option of having mixed telehealth and face-to-face appointments. Some people may choose to see their healthcare provider in person instead of having a telehealth appointment, or vice versa, depending on the circumstances. But at the end of the day, by introducing telehealth into the way that we work, particularly as a health service and healthcare providers, we're able to give our clients choice. And at the end of the day, choice is what is going to make the biggest difference in people being able to engage with and can remain continued engaged with their service and the support that they're receiving. So, for those who haven't seen what My Virtual Care and the New South Wales platform looks like before, I'm going to show you just how easy it is. Because believe me, the first time someone said, I'm going to teach you how to use a telehealth platform, I was like, that sounds really hard. And then to have to teach a patient or a client that I'm working with how to use it, also not the most appealing thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a really quick demonstration just to show you just how easy it is and also just some of the really cool things that you can actually do. So, this is what I see on my end of things. Now, I've been a bit cheeky and I've already pre-organised to email myself the link as a patient. You can access My Virtual Care on any digital platform, laptop, smartphone, iPad. As long as you can access Google Chrome, someone can access the My Virtual Care link. So, like I said, I've already emailed it to myself. Cheeky, I know. Link is emailed. All I have to do is click the link. For you guys to be able to see, this is what I can see on my phone. Nice and easy. So I'm going to fill in my name. I don't have to fill in my phone number if I don't want to. And I'm going to select what my role is. Today, I'm going to be the patient, but I can also select a relative, carer, or friend of a patient, another provider, or a New South Wales health employee. So today, for simple sake, I'm logging in as a patient. I'll test my microphone and my audio. Do that nice and quickly. Check my video, make sure that that's working. Great. Say yes. Okay, it's now asked me to select my appointment time. It's automatically come up with the next appointment available, which is 3:50 p.m. I'm going to select my clinician. Since I've logged on my own account, I'm going to be selecting myself as the clinician as well. Go enter. I accept the consent form. I'm logged in and I am now in the virtual waiting room. As a clinician, I've already received a text message and an email to let me know, as you can see up in the top hand corner, that Lauren Winch is currently logged in for her appointment. All I'm going to do now is connect. Simple as that. You guys can see. I can see you, you can see me. Nice and easy. The great thing about this is that, just to stop the replay, I'm going to stop that connection, is that this is available that people don't have to use their cameras if they don't want to. They can just do audio, they can just do text, chat. So if you have a look up here, where I'm looking, you can send a message, so I could check with make sure that someone's actually online, ready to go. Excellent thing that I can also do is make it nice and big. I can invite a participant, so I could quite easily get Esther's email address or phone number, and I could send her the link, and she could join in from any location, which means that if I'm handing over a patient to Esther, that I can do that on the spot, that we can have a joint session without everyone having to be in the same location. But also giving choice to the individual that you're working with, which is really great, because it could be a case of that we could say, maybe we're doing a safety plan. We're talking to someone to say, who's going to be your person that you're going to connect with when you're not feeling the best? And they're going to say, my friend Sam. We say, okay, well, how about we really quickly get Sam on the line here, and we let Sam know that Sam's down on your safety plan. We can send Sam the link. Sam can join in and actually participate really quickly, and we can say, thanks, Sam, we'll talk to you later. And Sam can log off. Nice and easy. Another really great thing about this platform is that we can also screen share. So if you're working with a patient, client, or another clinician, if you're wanting to be showing them different resources, for example, I want to be able to show, not that, maybe we're looking at how to do something like finding some identification or lost documents after all of their stuff was ruined in a flood. I could do that. I could be quite easily showing them a new resource that I've just downloaded, and we could be going through that together. Or how to link onto a new site. And the thing is that you can actually talk them through how to do it. Instead of just say, I really think that you should go onto the Beyond Blue website and check out some of their resources, because I think it would be helpful, is that you can actually do it with them. And particularly for people who aren't confident in using technology, it can be the difference between them actually accessing it later and feeling confident about it, and them never actually doing it themselves. Because when you can actually show people, it makes it a lot easier. Upside with this as well is that the patients that I've worked with and we've been using this platform is that most of them have said straight away, oh no, I don't do technology, I don't know how to do that. You say, okay, well, let's give it a go. I'll send you the link 15 minutes before our appointment, and then if you get stuck, call me and I'll talk you through how to log on. I've never had a single patient that I've sent the link have to call me and say they didn't know how to log on or had any issues. And when I've had some elderly ladies that are like, don't even know how to turn an iPad on, and they were able to do it, I was like, okay, we're doing pretty good with this. This is great. And all of them, when I've asked them all for feedback, have all said that they found it's been really simple and really easy to log on and participate, and that they would actually participate again, which has been really good. So that's just a quick little demo. If anyone's got questions, I'm happy to go back through that again later. But just for time's sake, I will just keep moving on. So, just want to talk about my experience a little bit more as a health professional using telehealth, as well as talk about one of my previous patients' experience. So prior to my current role, working in disaster recovery and working with remote and vulnerable community members, and then all of the added challenges with COVID, I had never used a telehealth platform previously, either personally in my own life or professionally. However, I was lucky enough to be given the opportunity to do a trial run with the LHD, and I was a pretty quick convert. As I showed you, it's pretty simple to log on. And improving service access and connection, particularly for vulnerable patients and community members, has been a big passion of mine, and it's something that I continue to strive for. So in my head, the whole thing was that this was going to vastly improve my ability to connect with my clients, deliver quality service, and save time. At least that was my hope anyway. Plus, with the vast impact of disasters, the global pandemic on the community, it's fair to say that most people, if not everyone now, is actually a vulnerable community member in one way, shape, or form. So I'd like to introduce you to Sally. Sally's a 37-year-old mother of 5. Her kids range from the ages of 18 to, well, her daughter just turned 2 on the weekend. She's married to her husband David, and they're married for a good number of years now. Sally has a history of PTSD, and she runs her own small business where she uses her Cricut machine, one of those fancy cutting machines, to do art things for teachers. And she has a pretty neat house. So Sally and her family were significantly impacted by the bushfires from the 2020 New Year's Eve fires up in Blue Haven. The fire front came within 20 metres of her house. Just for effects, from where I'm standing to the back of the room, that's where the fire was. When you stand on her front porch, you can still see the fire marks across the road from her house, even though most of it's regrown. And while thankfully no members of the family were injured, Sally had become incredibly avoidant about speaking about her experience and had started to become increasingly anxious and avoidant. So Sally was initially referred to my team, MHSTART, due to concerns from one of the local neighbourhood centre workers because they were quite concerned about her anxiety. She was being quite hypervigilant. She wouldn't go anywhere without the fires near me up right with her, and her kids couldn't go anywhere that she didn't know where they were going because she had to know that she had to be able to pick them up if there was an emergency. Sally had also stopped talking about the fires because every time something fire-related came up, she turned into a blubbering mess and the waterworks would start, which she found really embarrassing. So, throughout her episode of care with me, Sally was really eager to engage, which as a mental health clinician, big win, people wanting to actually engage with you, whoo, that's great. So she was really open to support and really wanting to engage in the therapy that I had to offer her. And through my engagement with her, it was pretty clear that consistency and regularity of our appointments was going to be key. Except there was a few issues. COVID-19, which presented a few barriers of service. So some of the main barriers that Sally and I had to overcome during our time working together was COVID and the restrictions. Every time one of her kids was off school because they had the slightest of sniffles, we had to cancel an appointment. I was originally seeing her in her home because that's where she was most comfortable and that was what I was able to offer her. But unfortunately, because of the restrictions that came into place, was that I couldn't visit her if one of the kids was home from school. And also she was really concerned that, heaven forbid, she made me sick or anyone else sick. So constantly, every time one of her 5 kids got unwell, we missed an appointment. Also too, then the kids would evidently always make mum sick as well, which again frequented that missing of appointments. So initially, we ended up rescheduling a minimum of 4 appointments prior to me going, how about we give this telehealth thing a go? Because originally, Sally had said, no, I don't like looking at myself on a webcam. I said, come on, let's give it a go. If you don't like it, we can move to something else. But lucky enough, Sally gave it a go. So some of the overcoming the service barriers that we were able to have with telehealth was that Sally and I came to an agreement that all of her appointments, I'd always initially schedule them face-to-face. However, I'd contact her previously before the appointment to check how she was going and how the family was. So normally a text message or a phone call in the morning. And if she said, I'm really sorry, one of my kids is home from school today, they're not well, it's just allergies, but even still, we would go, that's fine, we're going to switch to telehealth. So same appointment time, on the same day, no need to reschedule, no need to cancel, we just moved straight away to telehealth. So I'd send her the link 15 minutes before her appointment, she'd log on, she'd be able to still do her appointment while folding the washing, looking after the kids, and we were able to have more consistency with her appointments. Since we moved to telehealth, Sally only missed 1 appointment, and that's because she had to go into hospital for a medical operation that was already pre-organised. So I don't really count that as actually missing an appointment. I'm actually talking to Sally about how that influenced her journey with me. one of the big things that she said was that being able to actually be consistent and have that regular contact with another adult that was over the age of 18 was really beneficial for her, because particularly with COVID and the restrictions that were also placed on her, is that she went from being a regular parent, going to parent like a school pickup, to not being able to do that anymore. So she spent most of the time at home with a 1.5-year-old and very little adult interaction. So being able to have a consistent adult conversation that was specifically about her and her recovery was really important to her. So let's talk about the benefits of telehealth. Don't just take my word for it. Patient benefits. According to the Australian Digital Health Agency, telehealth can have the following benefits for patients. It can improve access to healthcare, so greater equality, can reduce travel and expenses and time away from home, which, like I mentioned before, for a lot of families, that can really be the big difference between them engaging with the service and not engaging with the service. I mean, for example, you're asking a mom, who might be a single mom with 2 kids, to come in for an appointment, but then her car's not working. I mean, the alternative would be for mum with 2 kids under the age of 5, so they're in a stroller, to get on a bus. Not only is that going to cost her money, but carting 2 kids in a stroller on a bus into Gosford from her home is going to take her an hour and a half each way. Not the most conducive thing to engaging with service. She might do it once, which is great, but in terms of consistency, really limited, because I mean, we all know carting 2 kids in a stroller on a public bus doesn't sound like the most appealing idea on the best of days. So it also reduces waiting time, so supporting faster diagnosis and appropriate treatment. So by service providers being able to access and see more patients more frequently in a quicker manner, it also means that they're able to have more patients come through. So again, we're providing quicker diagnosis and appropriate treatment to them. We'll also be able to provide them with improved continuity and quality of care. So like I said with Sally, I was able to provide more continuity of care because we could have more regular appointments without having to skip every second one because one of the kids had a sniffle. Local treatment from other known healthcare providers and under specialist supervision can also be provided, because as I demonstrated before, is that if I got stuck and I didn't know what to do while I was seeing Sally, is that I would know that I would be able to contact my manager, Esther. She would be able to come on the line and straight away provide additional support, which means that also that's going to ultimately benefit the patient or client that you're seeing. So, and also it's increasing opportunities for patients to the healthcare providers between face-to-face consults. So if we were to look at it from a suicide prevention perspective, a client who maybe has a slightly increased risk and they can't physically attend an appointment, is that we could look at putting in their safety plan that when they're not doing as well, is that every second appointment or every second day, instead of coming in because that might not be accessible for them, is that they could have a telehealth appointment. So they're still having an appointment and still being able to engage with the service, which is what they're wanting and needing, but we're also looking at being flexible in the service provision that we can provide them. And again, the main thing is that patient benefit is that we're providing them with choice. What about benefits to healthcare providers? So these benefits also flow onto us. Again, it also reduces travel and expense time for us, for the clinicians who travel around regularly, instead of being able to only see 3 to 4 clients a day. For client providers that actually visit their clients face-to-face, is that you can see more clients in more rapid succession, so that saves that. There's a higher patient reach due to fewer location and travel barriers. For example, for people that you might not be able to access, I know during the floods, I had some clients that I couldn't access because they were literally flooding in. So using telehealth was the only way that I was able to contact them, but it also meant that we still had that continuity of care there. It can reduce patient no-shows because, again, like I used the example with Sally, is that instead of cancelling her appointment or her not turning up or vice versa, is that we were able to automatically switch to a telehealth appointment, which meant that the appointment was able to continue on and I didn't lose that hour or so of that appointment not being used. We can have real-time assistance with difficult cases and emergencies. Again, this platform is really great, is that if we have other providers that are linked on with it, is that in the need of actually consulting with a psychiatrist or another colleague or specialist, is that we can actually use this platform to link them in and then being able to access straight away instead of saying, I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to step out of the room, leave you here by yourself while you're highly distressed and go and consult with someone, is that you can actually do it with the patient in the room. It also provides support for staff to work remotely, which again, in COVID times and with all of the different types of disasters that go around, being able to provide staff with opportunities to work remotely and in different locations can be really important. I mean, it means that when I do my outreach on a Thursday down in Spencer, is that I can also see a client in Blue Haven in between my appointments when I'm sitting either in the car or at a park bench or at a community hall, because I can still access the service and still see them. And for professional development, such informed knowledge transfer through increased collaboration, networking, and case conferencing opportunities are also available. So how can we integrate this into our work? This little diagram is something that I wanted to show you because I think it's a really great visual representation of the variety of some of the teams across the LHD that are actually using My Virtual Care. Now, I know it's a little tiny, but I'll read it out for you. We've got Pediatric Allied Health, Nutrition, Endocrinology and Diabetes Services, Health Equity and Vulnerable Populations, and go figure, Physiotherapy. So I kind of figure if physiotherapy can use telehealth in their day-to-day, I'm pretty sure the rest of us can as well. So I just wanted to use this to highlight because it clearly shows that the variety of different teams and different services that are able to integrate using the My Virtual Care into their services. So My Virtual Care has the ability to improve service connection and relationship between providers, provide an alternative option for warm handover for clients, and increase consultation and referral options, and improve contact and observation frequency in line with client needs. Don't worry for anyone who's interested, there's lots of resources and support out there, so I've just listed a couple of them. So the Agency for Clinical Intervention has a whole profile on telehealth. It's got some really great resources available for people to, both as clinicians to access as well as for consumers, as well as the Virtual Care Central, which is a new platform that's just recently been released that has a list of every single New South Wales government service that are currently using the My Virtual Care platform and telehealth, and lists what they're currently doing, so we can actually track all the data and the different programs that they're doing, which is really cool, as well as there's immediate online support that can be provided.